long list. 18 questions.
The verse, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. So people have given that verse to me on separate occasions in my life, and what do you think about that verse? I've always been like, yeah, okay, fine, but what does that actually mean? What does it look like? Like, I'm not sure what the desires of my heart are, and it sort of feels a bit like the tick box thing that you mentioned right at the start.
Yeah.
If you delight yourself in it,
Yes.
he will give you these things. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, well, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. From my experience, I can say that in some ways, as I delighted myself in him, my desires changed. So I desired him more. So in that sense, then that's a gift he's always willing to give and always gives. But also, the things. So I always wanted to be a mother and to be just, feeding my big family and caring for people. And as I stepped into leaving this desire for marriage behind, I found that I was leading a life group, and I have a dozen people around my table every week, and I'm feeding them and caring for them. He's given me that pastoral care heart and opportunities. So he has fulfilled those desires, but in ways I wasn't expecting. There were things that were already in front of me that I was already able to do. But it wasn't until I put down the big blockage that I could see that clearly. I was able to do that. So, help? Yeah. Second question?
Oh, yeah. So I feel like not if there's a lack of something, like not being married or something, that's one scenario. But the other scenario is if you have a long-term illness or something like that. That's not a lack of something really. It's something difficult that you're struggling with all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, what's the future going to look like? Blah blah blah. How would you encourage someone in that situation specifically?
Buy the book. No, I haven't experienced that, but I have interviewed people in the book that have and have found it. So there's a lady called Tanya Marlowe who has ME, has been more or less bedridden with it for, must be getting on for 15 years now. She's got a website you can look up, and her testimonies in the book of just how she's worked through those things. It's similar sorts of process, but God can be enough for me in this situation. Also Andrew and Rachel Wilson's stories in their children they've got 3 children, 2 of whom have autism, one much more severely than the other, and they talked about just how that's totally had to rearrange their priorities and what life looks like. So their stories in there, you can read that as well. Or again, they've written a book called The Life We Never Expected that goes into that in much more detail. So, any more?
I think that it's one thing to have your own, if only I was married or if I would get this job or whatever, and then coming to terms with not having it.
Yeah.
But what about when your if only is on behalf of somebody else? So like a family member who's got this massive need, it doesn't sort of seem quite right to say, well, I'm going to sort of, step away from that, and find my contentment in God, because then they might be losing out,
Yeah. And that is just such a painful one. I think the way I am looking at it, there's a situation that I'm in around that now, and it's about praying for that person that they will find their contentment in God as well, whether they're a believer or not, that they will come to Him and find that, or and that just how can I help them to live well in whatever their situation is, to be a good witness to them of what God's done for me, but lots of prayer for them. It is so hard when it's for others.
verse where it says about hope deferred makes the heart sick. And just like what your thoughts are on where hoping for something is at risk of becoming like idolising it.
Yeah, I think it can. Yeah. A verse is so unhelpful, isn't it? Longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Well, that's great, but what one my longing hasn't been fulfilled. It's hard because God is a God of hope. So we don't want to say, we'll just stop hoping, cut that off. Yes, what did I do with that verse? Other than look up something else. I think probably it's about acknowledging that with God. My heart is sick. I really want this thing and you're not giving it to me. And it's painful and I don't understand what's going on and would you give me hope in you and just talk through that stuff. I think that's probably how I went about that.